Bazaar is a Canadian sketch comedy television series that aired from 1980 to 1986. The show was hosted by John Byner and produced by CTV at the CFTO Glen-Warren Studios in suburban Toronto for first run airing in Canada on CTV and in the United States on the Showtime premium cable network. Synopsis: the series featured slapstick sketches, monologues, TV parodies, and performances by guest stand-up comics. Byner's interactions with members of the studio audience, or with show producer Bob Einstein, who often came in to halt a sketch midway through, provided an early example of removing the fourth wall. Much of the humor on the show was considered risque during the original run of the series. The series utilized a rotating ensemble of supporting actors who backed Byner up in his sketches. Besides Einstein, this group included Philip Akin, Harvey Atkin, Billy Barty, Cynthia Beliveau, Jack Duffy, Jane Eastwood, Barbara Hamilton, John Hemphill, Barry Flatman, Keith Knight, Don Lake, Kathleen Lasky, Kate Lynch, Pat Morita, Deborah McGrath, Mike Myers, Earl Pennington, Melissa Steinberg, Billy Van, Steve Weston, and Wayne and Shuster alumnus Tom Harvey. Bazaar had guest star performers during its run including Steve Allen, Francis Bay, Red Fox, Lou Burgoyne, who was concurrently with the Royal Canadian Air Force, at that time primarily a radio troupe, Victoria Jackson, Murray Langston, as the unknown comic, Howie Mandel, Second City alumnus Dave Thomas, Willie Tyler and Lester, Mark Weiner, Henny Youngman and others. Super Dave Osborne. A regular feature of the show was Super Dave Osborne, a spoof of daredevils such as Evel Knievel, portrayed by Bob Einstein, in which Super Dave would perform elaborate mock stunts meant to enthrall viewers. A reporter, usually Mike Walden, would assist in framing the sketch. Inevitably, the stunt would fail spectacularly, resulting in severe injury to Super Dave. These sketches would usually finish with a view of the scene in which Super Dave was buried, encased, launched etc., as appropriate for the sketch. Meanwhile, feigning agony, Super Dave would discuss sundry details, information about the next show, why the stunt failed, or what it did to the reporter once he recovered from his injuries. One notable Super Dave sketch was a stunt where he attempted to avoid being harmed while standing under a pile driver by repeating the nonsense phrase "balloon ball." The stunt failed in typical Super Dave style, leaving him as a helmeted head atop two shoes. This particular sketch was popular enough that during the following season, Showtime ads for Bazaar featured a cartoon logo of Super Dave's helmeted head and shoes. As usual for Bazaar, the Super Dave sketches contained coarse language, but led to a spin-off series, Super Dave, with a more family-friendly style. Versions. 2 versions of the show were produced. Episodes that aired on the Showtime cable network in the United States contained nudity and coarse language. The versions that aired on CTV, and later in syndication, had the nudity removed and the language bleeped by a horn-honking sound. Although the adult version is most closely associated with Showtime, it did go out on a few independent TV stations during the 1980s, playing as late-night fare. Although the clean version is the one that was more commonly found in syndication. Current Canadian broadcast content regulations, which are more lenient than those of the 1980s, might permit broadcast of the uncensored Showtime versions, but they have not been offered for broadcast syndication. The adult version was also shown regionally on ITV in the United Kingdom, usually airing after 11 p.m. and with some of the more extreme language bleeped out conventionally. Sketches containing nudity were censored for Canadian television and syndication by the inclusion of reverse-angle scenes originally filmed from behind nude actors, generally women baring their breasts, or else alternate scenes that had been filmed with the models wearing a bra. Rare scenes involving a woman being naked below the waist, however, just had the skits end very abruptly. The adult version has not aired on television since the Showtime airings, and original syndication ceased in the late 1980s. The syndicated episodes have been rebroadcast since. The CTV version of Bizarre aired on the Comedy Network from 1997 to 2003, originally airing the entire series before airing only select episodes from 2000 until the show was dropped from the Comedy Network's schedule. In 2008, the show was sold to TV Land Canada, later Comedy Gold, a classic TV channel in Canada. TV Land Canada aired the show as a marathon on New Year's Day 2009. The show was dropped from Comedy Gold's schedule in August 2011. Coincidentally, Super Dave started airing on Comedy Gold after Bizarre's dropping from the network and continued until September 2015. DVD release. DVDs of the unedited version, titled The Best of Bizarre Uncensored, were released in late 2005 from Canadian video label Visual Entertainment and are available to buy from Canadian and U.S. retailers. 9 individual volumes have been released as of July 2007. While the episodes appear to be uncensored regarding language and nudity, most are missing their original end credits, which included plugs for the Royal York Hotel in Toronto and Tilden Rent-A-Car. The only episodes to retain their original end credits are ones where live-action sketches are still taking place while the credits roll, and most of those episodes have the sponsorship plugs removed, with the exception of episode 47 on Volume 5, due to Super Dave Osborne commenting on the plugs. A generic DVD credits, a roll appears on each disc to give credit to the people who worked on the show. 1979 pilot. A pilot version of Bizarre produced for ABC and taped at CBS Television City in Hollywood, aired on that network on March 20, 1979. The pilot episode was hosted by Richard Dawson, at the time the host of ABC's game show Family Feud. Bizarre at the Internet Movie Database. Bizarre at TV.com.